For 3 years, I stayed by Qinghan's side. I was the chief suit designer she personally made famous. She created a brand for me. She showered me with the doting affection others envied. But only I knew. She was using my body to mourn the former system tasker. Late at night, she would grip my chin and sneer. "Your designs will never have Huwei's spark." She found a young designer's work among countless submissions. Her eyes lit up so fiercely it was frightening. Then she turned to the competition entry I had spent 3 sleepless nights creating and tore it to shreds. "If he has returned, I cannot let you stand in his way." I knew her wish would soon come true, because there could only be one Chuan in this world. He had returned, which meant it was time for me to leave. I crouched amid the scraps, laughing until tears fell. She did not know that the so-called spark came from when I was still unknown, and secretly slipped her my graduation project. She knew even less. That Huwei, the one she had always yearned for, had long ago occupied this body, and in only half a month, I would disappear forever. The competition entry I had drawn through sleepless nights lay in fragments. They were scattered at my feet. Qinghan ordered her assistant to search through countless submitted designs for Huwei. At the same time, she frowned at me, crouched on the floor, picking up scraps one by one. "This award is not important to you. If you really want it, I can make it up to you later." I weakly opened my mouth. This design award is held only once every 4 years. She had not even confirmed whether that person was Huwei. Yet she could not wait to destroy everything I had worked for. She was terrified I would secretly compete with him. Through my haze, I saw Qinghan's heels take a step toward me. She leaned down slightly. I thought her heart had finally softened. Even a few words of comfort would have been enough. But when I looked up, I saw her raise scissors and cut apart my unfinished suit for the competition. I panicked and grabbed her hand. I repeatedly told her that even if it was not entered, it was a new suit tailored especially for Qinghan. Her hand hesitated for only a second. Then she cut cleanly through it. "If he truly has returned, I will not need you to tailor my clothes anymore." Then her assistant shouted that they had found the promising young designer. Qinghan casually threw down the scissors. She hurried out of my studio. Only scraps remained everywhere. I crouched there, tracing the dense stitches on the suit cuff. Every stitch had been sewn through sleepless nights. Then I heard the models trying on runway clothes nearby. "She is only a contract lover. Does she really think President Gu likes her that much? So she cannot even compare to one new designer." Their whispers and laughter kept reaching my ears. Humiliated, I lowered my head. Qinghan's anxious calls kept ringing outside. I knew the one who had once possessed my body, and one Qinghan's heart had returned, and I had only half a month left in this world. That night, I received a notification from the company system. Qinghan had eagerly removed my custom orders for this season. Then she added Huwei to the system, plainly telling everyone that Huwei would make all her clothes from now on. People who had worked there long enough knew how to follow the wind. The more eager they had been to please me, the louder they now congratulated Huwei. I stared at my chat with Qinghan. It was still stuck on a message from hours ago. I had asked when she was coming home. Then an email suddenly appeared. "Because you did not submit your entry on time, your eligibility has been cancelled." The pen in my hand suddenly fell. It left a streak across my redrawn draft. There were still days before the deadline. Why was I being told it was over tonight? After I made several calls, a message from Qinghan arrived. I told them to send that notice. "Since you cannot make this one, wait another 4 years. Can you not even wait 4 years?" I could not. I typed those words, then erased and rewrote them. In the end, I turned off the screen. After 3 years beside Qinghan, I had not only failed to move her, even the final piece of my career's grand achievement had been erased by her own hand. No wonder the system said I had no value. It gave me only 3 years in this world. For the next several days, I did not see Qinghan again, until I received a text from an unknown number. "Chuan, 3 years should be enough for you to face reality. She loves me. You have nothing to do with it." There was a photo below. Huwei and Qinghan were raising that trophy together, amid endless news reports naming Huwei the latest design award winner. I pushed open my studio door. Inside the cabinet secured with a keypad were my sketchbooks from college. Near graduation, the art school's fashion department held a design exhibition. I watched classmates whose grades had always been worse than mine find buyers for their designs. Mine hung in the highest spot, yet no one showed any interest. Near the end, Qinghan seemed to notice me standing under my work, anxious and uncertain. She lightly raised a hand. She bought out the entire collection, and she lifted my fragile pride. After graduation, I worked so hard that I developed an irregular heartbeat. Only then did I finally enter Qinghan's company. But instead, I fell into an inexplicable slumber that lasted years. When I woke, Qinghan's eyes were red. She gripped my shoulders and shook me violently. She demanded viciously, "Where is Huwei?" Her gaze held none of the admiration she once had for me. She looked at me like a thief who had stolen her lover. Later, she discovered that everything I said and did was completely different from Huwei. She seemed to slowly accept that he was gone, but she still forced me to stay beside her. On my birthday, She would cancel all her work to make wishes and cut cake with me. When I was sketching designs, she would wrap her arms around me from behind. Her chin would gently brush my shoulder. Everyone said Qinghan loved me desperately, but I knew she had always known the difference between Hu Wei and me. The cake she chose was a flavor that gave me allergies. The gifts she bought were luxury jewelry I had never seen before. Even whenever we were intimate, Qinghan would tightly cover my eyes. Why did you come back? Give my Hu Wei back to me. The next time Qinghan contacted me, she asked me to open the safe. She wanted me to prepare her documents beforehand, so she could collect them when she returned. But when I opened it, I found something carefully stored at the very back. A suit design sealed in plastic. It was signed by Hu Wei. I suddenly remembered a time when Qinghan was drunk. She held me in her haze and said she had never seen me wear that suit. So this was the suit she said only Hu Wei deserved to wear. So this was what it looked like. A tear fell onto the drawing without warning. When I hurriedly tried to wipe it away, someone suddenly shoved me to the floor. Who gave you permission to touch that? My body suddenly lost balance. My right hand instinctively broke my fall. A sharp pain shot through my wrist. But when I looked up at Qinghan through tears, I only saw her carefully wipe my tear from the plastic cover. She pressed it against her chest. Seeing that I stayed on the floor for a long time, Qinghan finally offered me a hand in her mercy. Are you crying over a drawing? Did I not say I would compensate you with a trophy? I shook my head bitterly. I cannot wait. Qinghan, I will never have another chance to win a trophy. Qinghan visibly froze, then quickly pressed her lips together. She only thought I was threatening to die to make her come back to me. Her face turned cold and hard. She placed the suit design on the table. What? You think I will let you go just because he returned? Do not forget that you are still my employee. Hu Wei has been ill lately. Finish this suit for me within 3 days. Thunder crashed outside the window. My needle flew through lengths of white tulle. Waves of pain kept striking my wrist. I kept shaking my arm to ease the pain. Then lightning flashed outside. Every light in the studio suddenly went out. All I could hear was the howling wind and rain outside. I fumbled for my phone. The first message that appeared when I opened the chat app was from Hu Wei. Qinghan found out my real birthday. She is spending tonight with me, so she will not be coming home. The photo showed the cake that had triggered my allergies time and again. A glaring red warning appeared at the top of my phone. I only had 5 battery bars left. With my last shred of hope, I called Qinghan. She took a long time to answer. Her breathing was heavy, mixed with the rustle of clothes. After several seconds, Qinghan asked hoarsely, "What is so urgent?" I curled up in a corner of the studio. Lightning cast the room into flickering light and shadow. Fighting tears, I asked if she could send someone to pick me up. The power was out, and the rain was pouring. I had no other choice. But Qinghan only told me to stop making trouble. Do you really love being jealous that much? Why is it that on Hu Wei's birthday, you suddenly demand that I pick you up? Before I could explain, she was about to hang up. My phone was counting down to shutdown. I could not stop myself from asking, would you be sad if I disappeared? Qinghan did not hesitate. She even seemed eager to brush me off and get back to what she was doing. No. That night, I made my way home through the torrential rain. I ran into Qinghan as she was heading out with an umbrella. She looked at my hair plastered across my face and frowned at my miserable state. She found a coat and draped it over me. Exhausted in body and soul, I could not help wanting to throw myself into her arms. I wanted to hear her comfort me like she used to, even if it was all a lie. Qinghan shoved me away at once. Her face was terrifyingly dark. Li Chuan, I am warning you. If you ever hurt this body again just to compete for my attention, I can make sure you never leave this house again. With a bitter laugh, I wiped the rain and tears from my face. Then a wave of dizziness hit, and I collapsed. When I woke in the hospital, Hu Wei was standing in my room. In 3 straight days, I had slept only 5 hours in total. The suit I had sewn now lay on the hospital bed. Hu Wei was impatiently turning it over and over. You really overestimate yourself. Do you really think getting sick can win Qinghan back? As Hu Wei spoke, he grabbed one end of the suit and tore it apart with a violent rip. 3 days of hard work became to heaps of shredded cloth. I struggled to pray. Once again, that familiar scene unfolded before me. My eyes burned with rage. But the next second, before I could react, the torn fabric was already in my hands. Hu Wei covered his eyes and cried silently. Even if you tore up the suit, I will not give Qinghan to you. I came back for her after so much effort. As he spoke, Qinghan rushed in. She pulled him into her arms. She casually glanced at the fabric in my hands, and immediately guessed what had happened. She abruptly tore the fur needle from my arm. Then she threw all the fabric onto me. You seem strong enough to me. You do not need infor. Several drops of blood ran down the tube and fell onto the suit. I frantically pieced the scraps together. Then I hurled them at Qinghan as she left with Hu Wei in her arms. Qinghan, you bastard. You had better not regret this for the rest of your life. Qinghan paused for a moment. Without looking back, she left the room. On the date I had marked and read on my calendar, the entire internet was live streaming Qinghan's suit show for Hu Wei. In the company group chat, My colleagues openly discussed the shameful intimacy between Gu Qinghan and me. They mocked me for being nothing but a substitute. No one remembered that before the system task arrived, I was the true owner of this body. I stayed alone in the studio. I opened the box in the locked cabinet. One by one, I destroyed my old design drafts until I found the portrait I had secretly drawn in school of Gu Qinghan. My fingers softly traced every old pencil stroke. I could still remember racking my brains to make Gu Qinghan notice me. I worked late nights to finish my designs. Fortunately, she had liked many of my fashion designs, but sadly, her eyes had always lingered only on my work, never on me. A tear from the corner of my eye ruined the portrait completely. I picked up the pencil on the table. Stroke by stroke, I slashed the drawing. I tore it apart and threw it into the air. But even then, it did not feel like enough. So I scheduled a message on my phone. Let it be my final gift to them. The clock hand moved on. At last, I was about to be free. But in those final hours, Gu Qinghan still would not leave me alone. Did Hu Wei not invite you to the show? Where have you run off to now? Li Chuan, I did not even blame you too harshly for the suit. Hu Wei has been asking about you, too. How long are you going to keep being unreasonable? Her messages appeared one after another above the live stream. I sent her a voice message. Very soon, everything would be exactly as she wished. 3, 2, 1. A cold mechanical countdown suddenly sounded in my mind. Then everything went completely dark. A video call from Gu Qinghan suddenly appeared on my screen. When I woke again, Hu Wei's consciousness had taken over my body. He rushed excitedly into Gu Qinghan's arms. Crying, he told her how much he had missed her during those 3 years away. Years of intimacy made Gu Qinghan instinctively wrap her arms around him. But she unexpectedly asked one more question. So, will Li Chuan enter your old body? Hu Wei avoided her gaze. He gave a casual reply, then asked her resentfully, do you want to leave me by his side instead? Hu Wei and I were in the same body then. Both of us quietly waited for her answer. Of course not. Her answer came swiftly. Hu Wei suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. He looped his arms around her neck and whispered the truth in her ear. 3 years ago, Li Chuan and I made a bet. If he could win you over within 3 years, he could come back. But he failed. His punishment was to vanish from this world forever. Qinghan only has room for me in her heart. Gu Qinghan murmured the words, vanish forever. Then she shook her head to herself. With a cold laugh, she said, Li Chuan cannot be gone. He would cling to me for the rest of his life if he could. He will definitely find another way back. She said that when I returned, she would give me the cold shoulder, so I would learn the consequences of leaving without permission. I suddenly found it laughable. When I was alive, Gu Qinghan always said she wished I would disappear. But once I truly disappeared, she spoke the absurd words of waiting for me to return. Gu Qinghan sent someone across the country to bring back the body Hu Wei had once inhabited. But she was met by his utterly cold stare. She froze, then suddenly curled her lips into a cold smile. She told him to stop pretending he did not know her. Hu Wei still gave no response. I nearly laughed out loud. After Gu Qinghan repeatedly questioned him without getting an answer, she suddenly turned to Hu Wei and demanded, why did Li Chuan not switch bodies with you? Hu Wei shrugged carelessly. He only said that the bet had mentioned my consciousness might never appear in this world again. As he spoke, he wrapped himself around Gu Qinghan's arm. In a spoiled, teasing tone, he asked whether she had fallen for me. Gu Qinghan closed her eyes, her lips twitching faintly. How could I possibly fall for him? But when she entered her dressing room, she saw that none of the suits filling the room were in the style she knew. She rubbed hard at her brow. After searching through them all, she could not find a suitable one. Her frown deepened. There is an important gala in today's. Rush me a suitable formal gown. Hu Wei's expression turned complicated. He hesitated for several seconds before agreeing. Afterward, he frantically called for the system in his mind. But I was the only one who could hear him. No one answered. He had no choice but to secretly find a designer whose style was like mine, and have them rush out an outfit. That trick might fool ordinary people, but not those who had lived among high society for years. At the gala, even an old friend close to Gu Qinghan could not resist teasing her. President Gu, why have you lowered your standards? You are wearing custom clothes from some unknown designer now. As the gala wore on, Gu Qinghan's expression grew darker. Before leaving, she flung her jacket at Hu Wei. As her fingers traced the suit's seams, she suddenly asked, did you make this yourself? For the first time, Gu Qinghan realized that an ill-fitting suit had rough seam joints. Every formal outfit she wore before had been sewn by me, stitch by stitch. They fit her figure perfectly. But when she raised her arm in tonight's outfit, the hem of her shirt showed. She threw the clothes at Hu Wei. Her face icy, she said, your workmanship was never this crude before. In that instant, she radiated the authority of someone in power. Hu Wei blinked frantically in panic. He hurriedly explained that he had been sick and had not fully recovered. That was why he had tried to cut corners. Gu Qinghan calmly shook her head. I remember when you had just graduated. Even with a high fever, you would pull an all-nighter to win a project. Hu Wei lowered his head, not daring to respond. But I was stunned. She was talking about me when I had just graduated. Qinghan leaned back in her seat, closing her eyes. She went on about how, after I first graduated, I had worked myself to the bone for my career. I had stood out among dozens of young designers. In my first year, I brought the company impressive profits. That was why I was later chosen to become Qinghan's chief suit designer. One memory after another. I had thought she only remembered my achievements and work history, but she remembered who I was back then too. Qinghan finished speaking to herself. Then she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Hu Wei. Perhaps recalling those days, she felt she had been too harsh. Her hand covered his. Just as she was about to comfort him, she met his guilty, darting eyes. Qinghan suddenly had an unbelievable suspicion. Her grip on Hu Wei's hand grew tighter. There was an unmistakable threat in it. She demanded that he recount his early days at the company. Hu Wei again frantically called for the system in his mind. He wanted it to retrieve the memories for him. This time, I kindly reminded him, "Your mission is already complete. Why would the system remain here forever?" Hearing my voice, Hu Wei seemed to see his last lifeline. He begged me to help him. He was willing to use his points to help me, trade for a chance to return. But he was too late. Seeing Hu Wei remain silent and merely hung his head with a strange expression, Qinghan took a deep breath. She opened the car door and shoved him out. Like a madwoman, she rushed to my studio. She searched everywhere for my old design drafts. A staff member stammered that some time ago, Mr. Lee had destroyed every design draft himself. Qinghan's mind went blank with a roar. Everything inside her collapsed. On a night of pounding rain, Qinghan personally went to the waste disposal plant. She searched through the heaps for my torn design drafts. Hu Wei hurried over and held an umbrella beside her. He tugged her arm, telling her to stop looking. Without looking back, Qinghan shoved him away. She ordered others to join the search. Not much time had passed since I left. Several hours later, Qinghan pieced together the portrait I had slashed. "Did you draw this?" Back then, after pulling an all-nighter at the studio, I brought my drafts to Qinghan to review. I had accidentally tucked this portrait among them. When I heard her hold up the portrait with interest and praise it as well drawn, I realized something was wrong. My face burning red, I snatched it back. She actually remembered that moment. Her eyes bloodshot. She questioned Hu Wei again. The Li Chuan back then. Was it him or me? Hu Wei bit his lower lip tightly. Only after Qinghan seized his throat, leaving him unable to breathe, did he struggle out 3 words, "Not me." The lights in the studio stayed on all night. Among countless scraps of paper, Qinghan pieced together my design drafts. Bent over, she restored them bit by bit. All I felt was bitter irony. After all, she was the one who had torn up my drafts herself. After sitting in the studio for 3 days and nights, her assistant suddenly knocked urgently. "Ms. Gu, the last suit show is under investigation for plagiarism. The investigators say they are coming to question Li Chuan." I raised an eyebrow. The grand gift I had prepared for them was finally about to unfold. Qinghan stiffly turned her gaze toward Hu Wei, whom she had forcibly kept at the studio. Suddenly, she realized something. She staggered to the door to meet the investigators. The first thing she said meeting them was, "You said the suit show is suspected of plagiarism. Can I see the original drafts?" The investigators took out several photographs. The original suit designs bore the designer's usual signature at the bottom. It was identical to the signature on the drafts she had pieced together over the past 3 days. Qinghan leaned against the wall in disbelief. She looked over those photographs again and again. The last photo showed half-finished garments, already piled high throughout a room. In the corner hung lively decorative lettering. "Whenever I feel like marrying a Chuan, I will make another suit." Eyes red, Qinghan let out a pained, low roar. She clutched those photographs to her chest again, and again calling his name. I watched her coldly. So, she could regret it after all. The investigators carefully checked all of Hu Wei's documents. Frowning, they told him not to make false reports again. Who reports themselves for plagiarism? You clearly have too much time on your hands. Qinghan suddenly shook her head wildly, her fierce eyes fixed on Hu Wei. He is not Li Chuan. He is not. Following the photograph of the studio where the finished suits were stored, Qinghan found the address. Hope shining in her eyes, she opened the door. She had even turned back to tell her assistant to use garment bags to preserve every suit. But the moment she stepped inside, she found the room full of shredded white fabric. Even the suits prepared in advance for Qinghan for the next season had been cut to pieces. Qinghan's face went deathly pale. The last thread of reason in her mind finally snapped. She spun around and seized her assistant by the collar. Her eyes looked ready to bleed. "Did I not say that nobody was to touch anything inside before I arrived?" The assistant trembled, frantically shaking their head and hands. "Ms. Gu, you personally ordered it before. You told us to cut up all of Mr. Lee's finished pieces, so they would not affect Mr. N's competition and fashion show." Qinghan's hand abruptly fell slack. Her whole body swayed as though she might collapse. She burst into loud, self-mocking laughter. Tears immediately spilled from her eyes. She crouched on the floor and wept like a child. All she could do was mutter to herself, "So I was the real culprit. I am the one who destroyed him. Me." After a long while, Hu Wei was pushed inside. Qinghan pointed at the shredded fabric. She ordered him to restore it all. Hu Wei cowered in a corner, surrounded by several bodyguards. Terrified, he shook his head and cried that he was not a designer at all. He could not draw designs, much less make custom clothing. Qinghan suddenly pinned his shoulders, gripping him tightly. She demanded through clenched teeth. Then how did you deceive me back then? Had you not custom-made suits for me many times? Thunder crashed outside. Lightning illuminated their pale faces. Hu Wei's lips trembled. Under Qinghan's relentless questioning, he finally revealed the truth. Back then, the system helped me. I only had to say what I needed. The system handled everything else. So the plagiarism at that suit show may have happened because the system drew on Li Chuan's work. Qinghan suddenly crumpled to the floor. She laughed vacantly. I guess she was recalling. I guess she recalled the 3 years after I returned to this world and stayed by her side, when she repeatedly scolded my designs for lacking Hu Wei's flair. She had never imagined that Hu Wei's work had all been copied. There was another knock at the door. The phone you mailed has arrived. Please sign for it. Under Qinghan's watchful gaze, Hu Wei trembled and accepted the delivery. After powering it on and unlocking it with his face, the phone was still open to that rainy night from days ago, to his chat history with Qinghan. Qinghan, the studio is too far from downtown. My wrist hurts so badly. Can you pick me up and take me to a doctor? I did not mean to interrupt you and Hu Wei celebrating his birthday, but my phone is about to die, and the signal is terrible. Could you at least call me a car? Qinghan, why are you always so cruel to me? Why? With the same face, would you choose to love an outsider? I was the one who knew you first. Qinghan, I will never love you again. I hate you so much. Each message was marked with a red exclamation point. They were Li Chuan's unsent messages from that night, lost because of the poor signal. Qinghan's lips trembled. She drew a deep breath. Tears spilled from her tightly shut eyes. Her lips parted as she slowly exhaled. She bent over helplessly, bracing both hands on her knees, unable to recover for a long time. I thought seeing this would no longer hurt me. But when I thought of that night, wearing only a thin shirt, enduring the piercing pain my wrist, through the pouring rain, dragging my utterly exhausted body back to downtown, step by step, only to have that suit destroyed again, and Qinghan, whom I had loved for years, walked away without looking back, carrying Hu Wei in her arms. Tears slowly slid down my cheeks. That day, Qinghan had her bodyguards lock Hu Wei inside the house. They only needed to keep his body healthy. Nothing mattered. Hu Wei struggled desperately. Before a bodyguard covered his mouth, he suddenly shouted, Li Chuan has not disappeared. I can hear him talking inside my head. Qinghan's eyes flew wide open. Her chest heaved. After hearing the whole story, she took him to a psychiatric hospital. She told a hypnotist to treat it as schizophrenia and forced the second personality to emerge. Hu Wei was strapped to a bed, injected with sedatives, then forcibly hypnotized. Even under electric shocks, he tried to curl up in agony, but all four limbs were completely restrained. He could not move at all. The long silent system suddenly appeared. Together with Hu Wei, it begged me to appear, even if only to say a few words to Qinghan. Do not let him suffer this torment anymore. I only shook my head, curling my lips into a cold laugh. Now, you know what suffering feels like. Why are only you system taskers considered human? Am I not? Was I supposed to be forced to accept someone else's soul inhabiting my body? Did anyone ever ask whether I agreed? Does she not love this body? Then this little pain, compared to those years I was forced into an inexplicable sleep, is nothing. After repeated torture, Hu Wei was barely clinging to life. The hypnotist repeatedly glanced back at Qinghan's expression. Seeing her sit in grim silence, he gathered his courage and shut off the machine without permission. Ms. Gu, if this continues, his body will not survive it. Something in those words struck Qinghan deeply. She immediately called for it to stop. She looked into Hu Wei's familiar eyes, then turned away in fury. The next second, her assistant rushed in recklessly. Ms. Gu, someone with the exact same name as Mr. Li has submitted a resume to the branch office. Without a second thought, Qinghan drove to the branch herself. I looked coldly at the system. This is how you plan to help Hu Wei escape disaster. No one answered me for a long time. The next news I heard of Qinghan came when the assistant forcibly woke Hu Wei. Mr. Li, wake up. Ms. Gu was in a car accident. She keeps calling your name. Qinghan had been too anxious to reach the branch office to meet the designer with my exact name. She was speeding, and the road was slick in the rain when she crashed into a guardrail. By the time Hu Wei arrived, he heard the doctor say one of Qinghan's legs had suffered a comminuted fracture. She may need a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She softly murmured, Li Chuan. In a daze, she opened her eyes and saw Hu Wei standing beside her bed. She thought I had appeared. Trembling, she reached out her scar-covered hand and tightly clasped his. Her voice was as faint as a leaf drifting on the wind. You once asked me whether I would be sad if you disappeared. I gave you the wrong answer then. Chuan, Can I answer you again? A tear slipped from the corner of her eye and disappeared into her pillow. Through Hu Wei's eyes, I watched her without emotion. When I asked that question, I had hoped countless times that she would say she could not bear to lose me, even if she only saw me as a useful employee. But now, I no longer cared whether she would be sad. Qinghan wept as she confessed her remorse. When she struggled to look into Hu Wei's eyes, she saw only shock and terror in them. His body shook uncontrollably. Her pupils contracted. She suddenly seized his throat. Her jaw clenched, her face dark with rage. You are not Li Chuan. Give him back to me. Her grip was so strong that Hu Wei could not say a word. His lips turned purple as his head arched back. Only when the doctors heard the commotion was the chaos finally stopped. To calm Qinghan, the assistant brought the designer with my same first and last name to see her. Qinghan stared expectantly at the door, but once the man entered, she coldly looked away. It is not him. Because of her disability and her constant search for me, she missed shareholder meetings for weeks. She was temporarily removed as president. Months later, her assistant wheeled her out of the hospital. But when she returned home, she found Hu Wei delirious. He had even buttoned his shirt wrong. He muttered, I am not Li Chuan. Who am I? Qinghan was about to order someone to restrain him when he suddenly jerked up his head. He clumsily smoothed his hair with his hands and smiled foolishly. I remember how to go home. I do not want to stay here. I want to go home. Before the words had faded, Hu Wei began smashing his head against the wall, even bleeding profusely. He would not stop. Qinghan had him sent to a psychiatric hospital. She repeatedly ordered them to notify her if Hu Wei showed symptoms of schizophrenia. They had to tell her immediately. A few days later, Qinghan found my assistant outside my work studio holding a key and peering through the window furtively. She immediately had him seized. She thought she would learn something about me, but learned that I had instructed my assistant in advance, once the lease expired, to destroy everything in the storage room and throw it all away. The storeroom held flawed pieces from when I was first learning, when my skills were still poor. It also held every suit I had custom made for her that she had rejected. Now they had become the only things in Qinghan's hands that proved I had ever existed. After that, my consciousness was forced to remain trapped with Hu Wei in the psychiatric hospital. All day, I listened to him ramble about strange, disturbed things. Then one day, after a burst of static, the system appeared again. It said that, because in this novel world, the heroine's mind was gradually collapsing. The system had petitioned its superiors to create a new body for me, so I could return to this world. I gave a cold laugh. Give up. I will never love Qinghan again in this lifetime. The mechanical voice sounded again. Consider this our compensation to you. As for whether you reconcile with Qinghan, that is entirely your choice. With that, my consciousness slowly detached from Li Chuan's body and entered another body. I went to the far northwest, as far from Qinghan as possible. I returned to my old trade and opened a clothing shop. Peaceful days drifted by, just when my past in Jing City felt like something from a former life. The scrape of a wheelchair against the ground sounded outside. It broke my concentration as I sewed. When I looked up, I saw her assistant pushing Qinghan as she waited quietly at the door. I set out a ramp for her wheelchair, then stood silently to one side. Qinghan had her assistant wheel her around the shop. With a grand gesture, she bought every ready-made outfit in the store. As she inserted her card to pay, Qinghan slowly recited the passcode in front of me. It was my birthday. My expression remained calm. I packed each item for them, but Qinghan's burning gaze prickled against my back. I could not help frowning. Mom, if you are in a hurry to leave, I can arrange delivery for you. You do not need to wait here. Qinghan stared at me intently. The hand gripping her wheelchair trembled slightly. How did you know I do not live here? I smiled, never pausing as I packed. I only said her Jing City accent was easy enough to recognize. Qinghan did not ask further. She stopped me and said she wanted all her clothes custom made here from now on. As I took her measurements and reached her waist, I had no choice but to move closer. Her breath brushed my cheek and gradually quickened. When she saw me pull back, she suddenly grabbed my hand. Li Chuan, why will you not acknowledge me? I gently evaded her touch and calmly measured her cuffs. Ma'am, you must have mistaken me for someone else. Impossible. She denied it at once. Qinghan had never stopped searching for me over the years. She knew my design style inside and out. So, when she happened to see online someone recommending my shop, she rushed here at once. She pulled out a booklet filled with my old design sketches she had pieced together. Chuan, I mistook someone else for you. I used to think Hu Wei was you, so that is why Calmly, I recorded her measurements in my notebook. My gaze did not linger on her for even a moment. She still would not release my arm, begging desperately for my forgiveness. I could not help sighing. Qinghan, when I had just left, I watched every interaction between you and Hu Wei. Qinghan suddenly froze. I gave her a faint smile. When I had just disappeared, did she feel more reluctant to lose me, or more stirred by Hu Wei's return? Could she even tell the difference? In truth, She was not sure whom she really loved. Back when I had just graduated, Qinghan had always been a harsh boss. Yet while I lay unconscious, and Hu Wei was winning her over, her love for Li Chuan only grew deeper. But I did not believe Qinghan felt nothing at all for Hu Wei. I simply did not believe it. I looked at the face I had loved for so many years. She seemed increasingly unlike the decisive, all-powerful Qinghan I remembered. After recording Qinghan's measurements, I told her to collect her order in 2 weeks. Then I saw Qinghan off. 2 weeks later, Qinghan returned to the northwestern town, only to find that the clothing shop had vanished completely. It had become a snack shop. Like a madwoman, Qinghan searched the entire street for me. At last, the snack shop owner heard that her surname was Zhang, and ran after her to hand her an envelope. Qinghan's hands shook as she opened the envelope bit by bit. Inside were only several red banknotes. It was the deposit she had left me 2 weeks earlier. There was not even a single word for her in the envelope. Qinghan's face went white as paper. It was as if every trace of life had been drained from her. She pressed the envelope to her heart and let out a raw, anguished howl. 2 weeks of hope had all vanished like smoke, and I had saved enough money to close the shop for good. I found a quiet corner